परम आदरणीय प्रधानाचार्य जी और प्यारे बच्चों, आज हम सब एक बार फिर युवा शक्ति की महत्वता को समझने हेतु यहाँ एकत्रित हुए हैं। परम आदरणीय प्रिंसिपल मैडम की सार्थक अनुमति अनुसार हम यह कार्यक्रम प्रारंभ करने जा रहे हैं। आशा है इस कार्यक्रम से आप और हम अवश्य लाभान्वित और जागृत होंगे। मैं 2 लाइनों से युवा शक्ति को समर्पित लाइनें आपके समक्ष रखना चाहती हूँ। सभी लोग ध्यान देंगे। ये आसमां छिन गया तो क्या नया ढूंढ लेंगे। ये आसमां छिन गया तो क्या नया ढूंढ लेंगे। हम वो परिंदे नहीं, हम वो परिंदे नहीं जो उड़ना छोड़ देंगे। हम वो परिंदे नहीं जो उड़ना छोड़ देंगे। मत पूछ हौसले हमारे, मत पूछ हौसले हमारे आज कितने विश्रब्द हैं। मत पूछ हौसले हमारे आज कितने विश्रब्द हैं। एक नई शुरुआत, नया आरंभ तय है। एक नई शुरुआत, नया आरंभ तय है। माना अभी हम निशब्द हैं, माना अभी हम निशब्द हैं। किसी भी राष्ट्र का युवा समाज को नई दिशा देकर उसे तरक्की की राह पर अग्रसर करने की क्षमता रखता है। जरूरत है तो उसे सही समय पर सही मार्गदर्शन देने की। उसकी ताकत और क्षमता का समाज और राष्ट्र के हित में इस्तेमाल किया जा सके, इसी मकसद से भारत सहित पूरे विश्व में यूथ पार्लियामेंट यानी युवा संसद का आयोजन समय समय पर किया जाता है, ताकि भावी पीढ़ी के विचारों को समझा और जाना जा सके। आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव काल में केंद्र सरकार के संसदीय कार्य मंत्रालय ने युवा संसद कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया। संसद की गरिमाई व्यवस्था को जन जन तक और खासकर युवाओं तक पहुंचाने हेतु संसद रूपी कार्यक्रम की अहम भूमिका रही है। इस कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से आसान तरीके से युवाओं को संसदीय प्रक्रियाओं को समझाया जाता है। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं, भारत एक लोकतांत्रिक देश है और हमारे लोकतंत्र की जड़ें बहुत गहरी हैं। लोकतंत्र की इस परंपरा का प्रमुख स्तंभ संसद है, जहां जनता के चुने हुए प्रतिनिधि देश के लिए कानून बनाते हैं। युवा संसद के तहत संसद की कार्यवाही, नीतियां और कानून बनाने में लॉ मेकर्स की भूमिका जैसे पहलुओं को दर्शाया जाता है। इसी को आगे जानने और समझने के लिए हम युवा संसद एकत्रित हुए हैं। आप सब युवा संसद से कुछ ना कुछ सीखेंगे, जागृत होंगे, यही हमारी कामना है। आरंभ करते हैं।
From the Samastipur constituency of Bihar will now take the oath of affirmation, Ms. Aishwarya Patnaik. Ma'am, do you want to take the oath of affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take the oath?
मैं ऐश्वर्या तनया पटनायक, जो युवा संसद की लोकसभा सदस्य निर्वाचित हुई हूँ, ईश्वर की शपथ लेती हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति निष्ठा और श्रद्धा रखूंगी, देश की प्रभुसत्ता और एकता बनाए रखूंगी तथा जिस पद को मैं ग्रहण करने वाली हूँ उसके कर्तव्य का श्रद्धापूर्वक निर्वहन करूंगी।
We are confident
that your contribution would be very fruitful to both the house and the country.
Ms. Sirismita Chaudhary, who stands elected from Kolkata South constituency of West Bengal, will now take the oath of office. Ms. Sirismita Chaudhary. Madam, do you want to take the oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take the oath?
I, Shrishmita Chaudhary, having been nominated as a candidate to fill a seat in the Legislative Assembly, do swear in the name of the God, affirm that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, as by the law established, and I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India.
We are confident that your contribution would be very fruitful to both the house and the country.
Mr. Pratik Milind Pradhan, who stands elected from Sambalpur constituency of Odisha, will now take the oath or affirmation. Mr. Pratik Milind Pradhan. Sir, do you want to take the oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take the oath?
In Odia, please. ମୁଁ ପ୍ରତୀକ ମିଲନ ପ୍ରଧାନ ଏହି ଯୁବ ଲୋକସଭାର ସଦସ୍ୟ ରୂପେ ଈଶ୍ୱରଙ୍କ ନାମରେ ଶପଥ କରୁଅଛି ଯେ ମୁଁ ସମ୍ବିଧାନ ଦ୍ୱାରା ସ୍ଥାପିତ ଭାରତ ଓ ସମ୍ବିଧାନ ପ୍ରତି ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧା ଓ ନିଷ୍ଠା ରଖିବି। ମୁଁ ଭାରତର ସାର୍ବଭୌମତ୍ୱ ଓ ଅଖଣ୍ଡତା ସୁରକ୍ଷିତ ରଖିବି ଏବଂ ମୁଁ ଯେଉଁ ପଦ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିବାକୁ ଯାଉଅଛି ତାହାର କର୍ତ୍ତବ୍ୟ ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧାପୂର୍ବକ ନିର୍ବାହ କରିବି। ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ।
We are confident that your contribution would be very fruitful to both the house and the country. Honorable members, as we meet today, it is my sad duty to inform the House of the sad demise of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the father of India's Green Revolution. M.S. Swaminathan passed away on 28 September 2023 at the age of 98. He was a legendary agricultural scientist, a plant geneticist, and instrumental in averting a mass famine.
माननीय सभासदों, श्री एम.एस. स्वामीनाथन जी के निधन पर गहन शोक व्यक्त करते हुए मैं दिवंगत आत्मा को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं। हरित क्रांति के जनक कहे जाने वाले महान कृषि वैज्ञानिक एम.एस. स्वामीनाथन जी का बीते दिनों 98 वर्ष की उम्र में निधन हो गया। स्वामीनाथन जी को फादर ऑफ ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन भी कहा जाता है। भारत ने एक महान कृषि वैज्ञानिक के साथ साथ एक महान व्यक्तित्व को भी खो दिया है। वर्ष 1987 में श्री एम.एस. स्वामीनाथन जी को प्रथम खाद्य पुरस्कार प्राप्त हुआ था। वह पद्मश्री, पद्म भूषण और पद्म विभूषण तक से सम्मानित हो चुके हैं। स्वामीनाथन ने देश में धान की फसल को बढ़ोतरी देने में अपनी अहम भूमिका निभाई थी। उन्होंने धान की अधिक उपज देने वाली किस्मों को विकसित करने में अपना बहुत ही बड़ा योगदान दिया था। अध्यक्ष महोदया, इस पहल के चलते पंजाब, हरियाणा और पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश के हमारे काफी सारे किसान भाइयों को बहुत ज्यादा मदद मिली थी।
Honorable Speaker Madam, M.S. Swaminathan, a renowned agricultural scientist, has left us with an indelible mark on India's agricultural landscape. A few words is not enough for his tireless efforts and groundbreaking research. The transformation he has brought in the agrarian sector of our country is really a work of appreciation. His commitment to sustainable farming practices and advocating the welfare of farmers has given a shape to our agricultural sector. Our agricultural sector his dedication in enhancing agricultural productivity has won the hearts of millions of farmers. I, on behalf of the whole country, convey a deep condolence to the departed soul. We are really unfortunate to lose a man like him.
Now, I request the House to stand in silence for a while to express our deep sorrow. Take your seat now. Secretary General may convey the message of condolence to the bereaved family.
Yes, madam.
Prime Minister, to introduce the new ministers.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, हम आपके और आपके माध्यम से सदन में अपने कुछ नए साथियों का परिचय करवाना चाहते हैं। सर्वप्रथम श्री स्वयं स्वरूप ओझा जी, रेलवे के मंत्री। सुश्री सत्यरूपा जी, केंद्रीय उपभोक्ता मामलों के मंत्री। सुश्री अक्षरा यादव जी, खाद्य एवं सार्वजनिक वितरण के मंत्री जी।
Members, let us move on to the next item in our list of business. The question hour commences. Question number 101, Ms. Shruti Lekha Acharya.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, क्या भारत के रक्षा मंत्री यह बताने का कष्ट करेंगे कि अनुच्छेद 370 हटाने के बाद जम्मू कश्मीर में आतंकवाद के कारण हो रहे मौतों और अशांति के माहौल में कोई कमी आई है या नहीं? जम्मू कश्मीर को राज्य का दर्जा देने के संदर्भ में सरकार की आखिर क्या योजना है?
मिनिस्टर ऑफ डिफेंस मिस नम्रता दास।
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, प्रश्न के पहले हिस्से के संदर्भ में मैं कुछ नंबर हैं जो कि सदन में बैठे सदस्यों के समक्ष रखना चाहूंगी। जम्मू कश्मीर में आतंकवादी हमलों 2018 में 417 से 2019 में 255, 2020 में 240 और 2021 में 229 हो गए। मई 2014 से अगस्त 4, 2019 तक इन हमलों में 177 नागरिकों एवं 406 सुरक्षा बलों की शहादत हुई, जबकि 5 अगस्त 2021 से नवंबर 2021 तक ऐसे हमलों में 87 नागरिकों एवं 99 सुरक्षा बलों की शहादत हुई। महोदया, इन आंकड़ों से साफ है कि जम्मू कश्मीर में अनुच्छेद 370 हटाने के बाद घाटी में कमी आ गई है। सेना हर तरह की आतंकी गतिविधियों पर निगरानी रख रही है और किसी भी बड़ी घटना को अंजाम देने में आतंकी अभी तक नाकाम है। अब आते हैं दूसरे प्रश्न पर। रिगार्डिंग यूनियन गवर्नमेंट स्ट्रेटजी टू गिव स्टेटहुड टू जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग फाइन देयर, but few people have been trying to create an atmosphere of unrest in the valley. The government is tackling any such situation along with the army. The election commission is going to start the election process very soon. After the election, the situation will be monitored and Jammu Kashmir will be given statehood on appropriate time. अंत में वसुधैवम कुटुंबकम को समर्पित 2 पंक्ति के साथ मैं अपनी बात को विराम देना चाहूंगी। हम अपनी जान के दुश्मन को अपनी जान कहते हैं, हम अपनी जान के दुश्मन को अपनी जान कहते हैं, मोहब्बत की इसी मिट्टी को हिंदुस्तान कहते हैं। और जो ये दीवार का सुराख है साजिश का हिस्सा है वो, और ये दीवार का सुराख है साजिश का हिस्सा है वो, मगर इसको हम अपने घर की रोशनदान कहते हैं, इसको हम अपने घर की रोशनदान कहते हैं। धन्यवाद।
Ministers, maintain the decorum of the house. Next question, question number 102, Ms. Lipsa Sahu.
Honorable Speaker Madam, will the Minister of Home Affairs be pleased to state whether the government has the data of all deaths under police custody for the last 3 years? If so, the state-wise details thereof, whether the government has taken any steps
steps to eliminate custodial torture and death? And if so, the actions or the details taken thereof?
Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Priyansh Sahu.
Madam Speaker, as per the information received from the National Human Rights Commission, the details of cases, state or union territory wise, reported in respect of deaths in police custody are given at annexure. Police and public order are state subjects as per the 7th schedule to the Constitution of India. The Ministry of Home Affairs and the National Human Rights Commission issue advisories from 2 RS USQ number 3881 for 6th April 2022, time to time, to ensure protection of human rights. Further, pursuant to the guidelines issued by the NHRC, every death in custody, police or judicial, natural or otherwise, is to be reported to the Commission within 24 hours of its occurrence. If an inquiry by the Commission discloses negligence by an erring public servant, the Commission recommends to authorities of state or central governments for initiation of disciplinary proceedings or prosecution against the erring public servant. Action against the erring public servant is to be taken by the respective authorities as per extant rules, procedures, etc. In conclusion, I would like to state that the government has not neglected this particular issue and is enforcing strict disciplinary measures to combat this issue.
Any supplementary question, Ms. Lipsa?
No, ma'am.
Next question. Question number 103, Ms. Neelam Patro.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, क्या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और सूचना प्रौद्योगिकी मंत्री यह बताने की कृपा करेंगे कि क्या नवंबर में सबसे अधिक साइबर हमले भारत में विशेष रूप से चीन द्वारा होते हैं? यदि हाँ, तो तत्संबंधी ब्यौरा क्या है और आपके द्वारा इस समस्या से निपटने के लिए क्या प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं?
Minister of Electronic and Information Technology, Mr. Joy Bhengra.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, सरकार ये सुनिश्चित करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है कि भारत में इंटरनेट सभी ई उपयोगकर्ताओं खुला, सुरक्षित और जवाबदेह हो। 80 करोड़ से अधिक भारतवासियों के इंटरनेट से जुड़े होने से भारत दुनिया के सबसे बड़े देशों में से एक है। गुमनामी के साथ सीमाहीन साइबर स्पेस के साथ इंटरनेट की तेजी से विकास होने से साइबर सुरक्षा की घटनाओं में वृद्धि की है। सरकार ने राष्ट्रीय साइबर सुरक्षा रणनीति का मसौदा तैयार किया है, जो समग्र रूप से राष्ट्रीय साइबर स्पेस की सुरक्षा समस्याओं का समाधान करता है। साइबर सुरक्षा रणनीति का दृष्टिकोण भारत की समृद्धि के लिए एक सुरक्षित, भरोसेमंद, लचीला और एक जीवंत साइबर स्पेस सुनिश्चित करना है।
Any supplementary question, Ms. Neelam?
No, madam.
Next question. Question number 104, Ms. Sudiksha Pradhan.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, will the Minister of Health and Family Welfare be pleased to state the position of India in the list of 145 countries in terms of indicators like life expectancy and cause of death published by United Nations World Health Organization and the World Bank? Whether the country is lagging behind various developing countries including Nepal and Bangladesh in the major health indices. If so, the details are thereof and the reaction of the government taken thereto. Whether the government has taken any steps to improve the quality and standard of health in the country. If so, the details are thereof.
Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Ms. Swayam Shri Pradhan.
Speaker Madam, A2E international organizations, including the United Nations World Health Organization, have been publishing reports on health quality indices encompassing life expectancy, cause of death, etc. As per the latest United Nations population estimates, the life expectancy at birth for both the sexes for India is 72.4 years, while it is 71.74 years and 73.57 years respectively for Nepal and Bangladesh. India is a large country with different social, cultural and geographical diversities. The status of healthcare in a country is reflected through the basic demographic indicators. Well, in the case of India, the success of health and family welfare is clearly reflected through the trend of such indicators since independence, and in particular since the new millennium based on the estimates from the Sample Registration System SRS of Registrar General and Commissioner India RGI. The crude birth rate, that is CBR, of the country has halved from 40.8 births per 1,000 population since 1951 to 19.5 births in 2020. The crude death rate, CDR, has experienced a fall from 25.1 deaths per 1,000 population in 1951 to 8.4 in 2001 and further to 6.0 deaths in 2020, indicating that India has prevented around 19 deaths per 1,000 population since 1951. The total fertility rate, that is TFR, of the country has experienced a remarkable decline from 6 children per woman in 1951 to 3 in 2001 and then to 2 in 2020, indicating fast progress of the country towards a replacement level of fertility. In the recent years, India has witnessed a notable improvement in maternal health by bringing down the maternal mortality rate to 103 maternal deaths per 1 lakh live births in 2017 to 19 from 301 during 2001 to 3. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, through the states and union territories, is implementing flagship schemes such as NHM, that is National Health Mission, PMSSY, Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana, ABP MGAY, Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, central sponsored schemes for setting up of medical colleges, hospitals, national AIDS control programs, etc. for improving the health quality and standards in the country. In recognition of the special healthcare needs of the elderly and to provide dedicated medical facilities to the elderly population, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is implementing National Program for Healthcare of the Elderly, that is NPHCE, at various levels of primary, secondary and tertiary healthcare.
Next question number 105, Ms. Harshita Naik.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, will the Minister of Education be pleased to state how education has changed after implementation of National Education Policy 2020? And my second question is, what would be the benefit of giving education in regional language?
Minister of Education, Ms. Meghna Rath.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, as the NEP 2020 is in the implementation phase, special emphasis has been given on early childhood care and education. The 10+2 structure is to be replaced by 5+3+3+4 curricular structure corresponding to ages 3 to 8, 8 to 11, 11 to 14 and 14 to 18 years respectively. The new system will have 12 years of schooling with 3 or preschools. The new system will cover 4 stages. Fundamental stage in 2 parts, that is 3 years of Anganwadi or preschooling plus 2 years of primary school in grades 1 to 2. Both together covering ages 3 to 8. Preparatory age, grades 3 to 5, covering ages 8 to 11. Middle age, grades 6 to 8, covering ages 11 to 14. Secondary age, grade 9 to 12, in 2 phases, that is 9 and 10 in the first and 11 and 12 in the second, covering ages 14 to 18. Students will have increased flexibility and choice of subject so that they can choose their own path according to their talents and interests. There will be no rigid separation between arts and science, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams in schools. The objective is to give equal emphasis on all subjects with the integration of vocational education and academic streams in schools. By 2025, at least 50% of the learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. Beginning with vocational exposure at early ages in middle and secondary school, quality vocational education will be integrated smoothly into higher education. Now, I would move on to second part of the question regarding the benefits of giving education in regional language. Language is power and our mother tongue is our identity. Madam, under the NEP 2020, the medium of instruction until and at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8, will be of home language or mother tongue or regional language or local language. Now, I would like to highlight the positive aspects of learning in regional language. The subject-specific improvement. Several studies in India and other Asian countries suggest a positive impact on learning outcomes for students using a regional medium. Higher rate of participation. Studying in native language results in higher attendance, motivation, and increased confidence for speaking up among the students and improve parental environment. Gross enrollment ratio. This will help to provide teaching to more students and thus increase gross enrollment ratio in higher education. In India, there are 700 different languages spoken. This motto has been taken to preserve our language and local language. It will promote the strength, uses, and vibrancy of all Indian languages.
Next question, question number 106, Mr. Lokesh Kumar Das.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया जी, क्या युवा कार्यक्रम और खेल मंत्री यह बताने की कृपा करेंगे कि क्या सरकार ने देश के जनजातीय और पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों हेतु खेल और खेल संस्थानों के विकास के लिए कोई योजना शुरू की है? यदि हाँ, तो तत्संबंधित ब्यौरा क्या है? यदि नहीं, तो इसके क्या कारण हैं? क्या सरकार की देश के जनजातीय क्षेत्रों के खिलाड़ियों को बढ़ावा देने हेतु नई योजनाएं शुरू करने की कोई योजना है? यदि हाँ, तो इन नई योजनाओं को कब तक शुरू करे जाने की संभावना है?
Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Mr. Ankit Sobhan Panda.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, खेल राज्य का विषय होने के कारण देश के जनजातीय और पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों के लिए खेल-कूद, खेल और खेल संस्थानों के विकास का उत्तरदायित्व मुख्य रूप से राज्य या संघ राज्य क्षेत्र की सरकारों का होता है। केंद्र सरकार महत्वपूर्ण कमियों को दूर करके उनके प्रयासों की पूर्ति करती है। केंद्र सरकार जनजातीय और पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों सहित पूरे देश में खेल संस्थानों को बढ़ावा देती है। वर्ष 2016 में शुरू की गई इस मंत्रालय की खेलो इंडिया स्कीम के तहत ग्रामीण और देश।
मंत्री जी, आपने जो स्कीम के बारे में बोला अभी थोड़ा विस्तार से बताइए ना। क्या?
Please take your seat and let him complete first.
अध्यक्ष महोदया जी, हम बस एक प्रश्न पूछना चाहते हैं, एक प्रश्न।
Please take your seat. Let him complete first. जी। Yes, continue.
इसके अलावा इस मंत्रालय की विभिन्न स्कीमों के तहत लाभान्वित अधिकांश खिलाड़ी देश के ग्रामीण, पिछड़े, जनजातीय और पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों से संबंधित हैं। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, मैं आपके माध्यम से विपक्षी पार्टी अवगत कराना चाहता हूं कि हमारी सरकार ने खेल विकास हेतु अनेक योजनाओं का क्रियान्वयन पिछले 5 साल में किया है। जैसे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 29 अगस्त 2019 को फिट इंडिया मूवमेंट का उद्घाटन किया। इसके साथ ही खेलो इंडिया लक्ष्य, ओलंपिक योजना, पोडियम, राष्ट्रीय खेल विकास कोष आदि जैसे अनेकों योजनाएं हमारी सरकार द्वारा समय समय पर बीते दिनों कार्यान्वित की गई हैं। अंत में मैं मात्र 2 पंक्तियों में इस मुद्दे पर अपनी सरकार का रूप स्पष्ट करना चाहता हूं कि मुझे आगे बढ़ाना मेरे देश का कर्तव्य नहीं, मुझे आगे बढ़ाना मेरे देश का कर्तव्य नहीं, बल्कि मेरे देश को आगे बढ़ाना ये मेरा कर्तव्य है। धन्यवाद।
Ministers, please maintain the decorum. Next question, question number 107, Mr. Subhanshu Sahu.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, will the Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change be pleased to state whether there has been an increase in the number of respiratory patients due to increasing pollution in NTC of Delhi? If so, the details thereof, and the number of persons died due to respiratory problem during last 5 years and the current year, state, district-wise and union territory-wise. My second question, whether the government has conducted any surveys during the last 5 years to ascertain the reason for increasing in the level of pollution during the month of October up to December every year, and whether the government has taken any strict step in this regard, and if so, the detail thereof, along with the detail of funds and allocated and utilized for the said purpose.
Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Mr. Shriyanshu Panda.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, the relationship between air pollution and health is complex, with conclusive data establishing direct correlation remaining elusive. Health outcomes are influenced by various factors such as occupation, dietary habits, and genetics. A 2017 study by the Indian Council of Medical Research identified air pollution as one of the several risk factors for disability-adjusted life years. In Delhi NCR, pollution sources include industrial emission, vehicular pollution and construction dust. A 2018 study by TERI-ARAI revealed sector-wise contribution to the particulate matter, with notable contributions from industries, dust and transport sector. Government initiatives such as the National Clean Air Program and monitoring networks have led to improvement. Continuous ambient air quality stations data for Delhi shows a decline in PM concentration since 2016. Financial support from the 15th Finance Commission and NCAP underscores commitment. Allocations like rupees 11.25 crore, rupees 1.96 crore and rupees 6.67 crore for Delhi, Alwar and Noida highlight targeted funding. The 15th Finance Commission provided rupees 4,400 crore in 2020-21 and rupees 12,139 crore from 2021-22 to 2025-26 for urban agglomerations. Specific grants for cities like Ghaziabad, Meerut and Faridabad showcased a focused approach. In conclusion, collaborative efforts, scientific studies and financial allocations are driving positive changes. Continued cooperation is crucial for cleaner and healthier environment.
Next question, question number 108, Ms. Ritika Satpathy.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, will the Finance Minister be pleased to state whether the Reserve Bank of India in its report on currency and finance has expressed a serious concern over steep rise prices and has emphasized the need to curb the trend through the proper policy measures? And if so, what are the policy measures adopted and the results achieved so far?
Minister of Finance, Ms. Utkalika Kandi.
Honorable Madam Speaker and the Opposition, the Ministry of Finance would like to state that India's central bank has raised the inflation for this fiscal year as food prices ranging from humble staples to vegetables and even gourmet offerings spike. While normal monsoon, it seemed to be inadequate to rein in the prices. The global economy continues to face daunting challenges of inflation, geopolitical tensions and extreme weather conditions. I assure that vegetable prices may see significant correction after a few months. The crude oil price shock has significantly contributed to the rising inflation in all oil importing countries. According to statistical data, in recent years, there have been a good number of fluctuations in all oil prices, which has also led to high volatility in the commodity market. The retail inflation rose mainly because of the rising prices of food and other essential items. Ukraine, which is also a potential exporter of fertilizers for India. Due to Russia-Ukraine war situations, uncertainties and trade cutoffs, there has been a supply shortage in these commodities. This deficient demand and supply has further induced the inflation of essential items. Now, I'm going to read out some initiatives taken by government to reduce inflation. And it is my kind request to the opposition leaders to please note the following initiatives that I'm going to read out. Firstly, the RBI has consecutively hiked the repo rates in May and June. The rate hiked by 0.9% in the 2 months. The RBI is expected to hike it further to control inflation. Second, the government has announced an excise tax cut on petrol and diesel. Third, the government announced a reduction in the import duty in critical raw material for production and imports for the steel and plastic industries. Fourth, the government permitted duty-free imports of 30 lakh tons of crude sunflower oil for the next 2 years. Fifth, and the last, the government has capped the sugar export and banned wheat exports altogether. It is mainly to maintain adequate stock and security within the country to cool off prices. Thank you, Madam.
Any supplementary question, Ms. Ritika?
Yes, ma'am. I have one more question. What are the progress made by India in space research during the last 3? What are its economic conditions? What are the effects of private sectors participating in it? And how does this contribute in Indian economy?
Minister of Finance, please.
Yes, Madam. Well, coming towards the second part of your question, Madam, you should know that the Indian Space Policy 2023 has been approved by the Union Cabinet to boost private investment and encourage private participation in all aspects of space activities. ISP encourages the private sector to invest in new infrastructure for the sector and outlines the framework for the private sector to use ISRO facilities. Here are some space activities envisaged to be taken up by private sector under ISP. Agnikul Cosmos, developing a small satellite launch vehicle. Bellatrix Aerospace collaborating with ISRO to develop electric propulsion systems. Skyroot Aerospace, developing satellite launch vehicles and signing an agreement with Satish Dhawan Space Center. Participation of private sector and startups in the space sector have an advantage in terms of low-cost operations. It will give rise to new innovations and technology. Expanding the number of stakeholders with participation of private sector will ensure more transparency and better accountability and regulatory practices. The vast amount of potential and resources available with the private sector will help the space industry to grow and fill in the communication infrastructure. So, Ms. Ritika, I hope you got proper answers for your doubts. Thank you, madam.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, a serious breach of privilege has been committed by the police inspector of Sidhuwal's police station. Over 14,000 teachers were holding a state-level rally against the state government of Punjab. Mr. Manmeet Singh, MP, while on his way to the parliament by the same road, stopped by to understand the concerns raised by the protesting troops. The police detained Manmeet Ji, who was thereby restrained from attending the parliament on 2nd of August 2022. And I have requested you to allow me to raise a question on that matter now.
Ms. Shivani Bagh, have you given a notice of it earlier? You may give a due notice along with a copy of a newspaper cutting and then I shall consider it. You cannot spring a surprise on me like this.
I have already given the notice of it at 10 a.m. today, Speaker, Madam.
It will be examined when it comes to me and I shall consider it and let you know of my decision. Now, the papers to be laid. Honorable Minister of Health, Ms. Swayam Shri Pradhan.
Madam, I beg to lay on the table, firstly, a copy of the annual report, both Hindi and English versions, of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, for the year 2020 to 21, along with audited accounts following the notifications of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And secondly, a copy of the review, both Hindi and English versions, by the government of the working of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Bhopal for the year 2020 to 21.
Minister of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, Mr. Narendra Mahanand.
Honorable Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the committee under Rule 33151A of the Rule of Procedure considered the demands for grant 2020 to 2021 for the Department of Animal Husbandry, Fisheries and Dairying. The committee took evidence for the representatives of the Department of Animal Husbandry, Fisheries and Dairying on their sitting held on 23rd April 2020. The report was considered and adopted by the committee on 25th April 2020. The Plant Quarantine Regulation of Import into India 10th Amendment Order 2020 was published in the notification number SO4082E in the Gazette of India on 28th December 2020 under the section 4D of the Destructive Insect and Pest Act 1914.
The next item in the list of business is the message from the Upper Chamber. Secretary General to report the message from the Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament.
Madam, I have to report the following message received from the Secretary of the Upper Chamber of the Youth Parliament in accordance to the provisions of the rules, procedure and conduct of business in Upper House of the Youth Parliament. I am directed to enclose a copy of the Payment of Gratuity Bill 2020 which has been passed by the Upper Chamber at its sitting held on 22nd March 2020.
Secretary to lay on the table a copy of bill as passed by the Upper Chamber.
Madam, I lay on the table of the House the Payment of Gratuity Bill 2021 as passed by the Upper Chamber of the Youth Parliament.
Honorable members, at this stage of proceedings, I have to make an important announcement on my behalf and on the behalf of the honorable members of the House that I have a great pleasure in extending our warm welcome to His Excellency Mr. Nikhil Jaiswal, President, French National Assembly, and the honorable members of the French parliamentary delegation who are on a visit to India as our honored guest. The other honorable members of the delegations are Ms. Saishri Mishra, Defense Minister, French Republic; Ms. Abhipsa Meher, Minister of State for Industry, French Republic. It is a high-powered delegation. The delegation arrived for a 5-day visit on the invitation of Parliament of India. They are now seated in the special box. We wish them a happy and a fruitful stay in our country, and also convey our warm greetings and very best wishes through them to the government of French Republic and the friendly people of France. Now, the House will take up the next item in the list of business, calling attention motion. Ms. Anshu Yadav.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, आज हमारे देश में राष्ट्रवाद के मुद्दे पर, देशभक्ति के मुद्दे पर राजनीतिक रंग दिया जा रहा है। आज हमारे भारतवर्ष में अल्पसंख्यक वर्ग, पिछड़े वर्ग असुरक्षित महसूस कर रहे हैं। देश भर में अशांति बढ़ती जा रही है। इन मुद्दों पर हमारे सत्ता पक्ष के मित्रों का क्या विचार है? सरकार अपना रुख स्पष्ट करे।
Minister of Minority Affairs, Ms. Arpita Samal.
हमारा देश भारत है, नदी गोदावरी गंगा, लिखा भूगोल पर हमने हमारा चित्र बहुरंगा। माननीय सभापति महोदया, हमारे देश में 1600 बोलियां बोलने वाले लोग निवास करते हैं। कुछ लोग ईश्वर के साकार रूप की पूजा करते हैं, तो कुछ लोग ईश्वर के निराकार रूप की उपासना करते हैं। परमात्मा को मानते हैं तो कुछ परमात्मा के अस्तित्व में ही विश्वास नहीं करते। ऐसे विविधताओं से भरा हुआ एक देश है हमारा भारत। हमारा संविधान, हमारी आइन, हमारी हजारों वर्षों की जो सांस्कृतिक विरासत है उसकी अभिव्यक्ति है। हमारी सरकार संविधान के दायरे में रहकर देश को चलाने का प्रयत्न कर रही है। सबको जोड़कर सबका विकास करने की पद्धति पर काम कर रही है। हम सांसद जो शपथ लेकर इस पावन सदन में आए हैं, क्या हम किसी धर्म विशेष, किसी संप्रदाय विशेष, किसी विचारधारा विशेष के प्रतिनिधि हैं? नहीं, हम पूरे भारतवर्ष के प्रतिनिधि हैं। और 130 करोड़ भारतवासियों का कल्याण यही हमारी जिम्मेदारी है। सभापति महोदय, हमारी सरकार एक रूपता के पक्षधर नहीं है, हम एकता के पक्षधर हैं। सभी संप्रदायों का फलना फूलना यही इसी भारत की भूमि पर संभव है। यह बुद्ध और गांधी का पावन कर्मभूमि है। यहाँ अहिंसा परमो धर्म का मंत्र दिया गया है। यहाँ तक कि स्वामी विवेकानंद जी ने भी कहा है, भारत का आदर्श है वेदांतिक ब्रेन कपल विद इस्लामिक बॉडी। विविधता में एकता, यही तो हमारी पहचान है। कभी इकबाल ने भी कहा है, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी। सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौर ए जहां हमारा, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौर ए जहां हमारा। सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा।
Ministers, please maintain the decorum. Honorable Minister of Law and Justice, Mr. Abhishek Sahu, to introduce the bill.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, the Central Vigilance Commission Amendment Bill 2021, a bill further to amend the Central Vigilance Commission Act 2003, be it enacted by the Parliament in the 72nd year of Republic of India as follows. This act may be called the Central Vigilance Commission Amendment Act 2021. It shall be deemed to have come into force on the 14th day of November 2021. In Section 25 of the Central Vigilance Commission Act 2003, in Clause D, the following provisions shall be inserted, namely, provided that the period for which the Director of Enforcement holds the office on his initial appointment may, in public interest, on the recommendation of the committee under Clause A, for the reasons to be recorded in writing, be extended up to 1 year at a time. Provided further that no such extension shall be granted after the completion of a period of 5 years in total, including the period mentioned in the initial appointment. The Central Vigilance Commission Amendment Ordinance 2021 is hereby repeated. Notwithstanding such repeal, anything done or commission, any action taken under the Central Vigilance Amendment Ordinance 2021 will be deemed to have been done or provisions of taken under this Act.
Those who are in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those who are against, please say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Now, the House is adjourned to meet again at tomorrow at 11 a.m.
धन्यवाद सभी को। आशा है कि इस विद्यालयी संसद के माध्यम से आप वास्तविक संसदीय प्रक्रियाओं को समझ सके होंगे। देखिए, युवा की पहचान ही है कि वो निरंतर कुछ ना कुछ सीखता रहता है और हमेशा नवीन ज्ञान की ओर अग्रसर रहता है। अपने नवीन ज्ञान में हमेशा वृद्धि करता रहता है। हम सब भी कोशिश करेंगे कि निरंतर सीखते और निखरते रहें। युवा संसदीय मंत्रियों के उत्साहवर्धन हेतु मैं 2 लाइनें उन्हें समर्पित करना चाहती हूँ। ऐसा कौन है जिसमें कमी नहीं, ऐसा कौन है जिसमें कमी नहीं, आसमां के पास भी जमी नहीं, आसमां के पास भी जमी नहीं। धन्यवाद।
हो गया ना?
Because within a very short notice, you have performed well, and I hope very soon our students will get a chance to perform on regional basis. Because Youth Parliament, some selected schools have given the chance to present the region. Then when the region, after selection from the region, there is cluster, and then for the national event. I hope under the guidance of our able teachers, both the teachers, also their effort is praiseworthy. Within a very short notice, they have prepared all the scripts and guide the students to do their best. So keep it up. All the best for the future. Thank you all.